doing a digital audio recording.
Okay.
In the kitchen.
In the heart of the United States, a group of paranormal investigators sets out seeking the truth. Are ghosts real or imagined? Are places really haunted? Or do our minds play into that fear? Push past what you know. Question your reality. Come with us as we pierce the veil between this world and the next. Let your fear be your guide. What you fear, we will find.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the American Ghost Project podcast. I'm your host, Marty Evans, and today I'm sitting down with our founder and lead investigator, Mr. Scott Poole. Scott, can you tell the people a little about yourself?
So, Marty, you want me to tell the listeners back home who I am, where I come from, and, how old I am, what my sign is, and all this other stuff. I'm not that interesting of a person.
Social security number, blood type, all that good stuff.
O positive. I'm O positive, everybody.
Social security number is 2.
I will share a quick story, if I will, and this maybe will give you guys a little insight as to who I am, whatever he brought up. By the way, I served in the Army National Guard for 20 years, 2 tours overseas, a couple of mobilizations back home, more recently in ties with the Winter Games that are being held in Beijing. I was a member of the National Guard when we did Operation Inner Flame. That's what it was called right after 9/11, the Salt Lake Games in 2002. So I served during the Winter Games and unfortunately watched my Rams fall to the Patriots for the first time, the beginning of their dynasty. Anyway, I digress. What I was getting at with my blood type, serving overseas on my second tour, we had a Marine that had fallen on one of the bases that we were serving on. They called out over the big voice and brought everybody over that could give blood that was O positive. They were specifically looking for O positive blood. He got 19 units of blood and lived.
Holy cow.
So amazing story of resilience for that Marine. Never caught his name. Hopefully I helped, in some way. I served as a medic, and that was kind of my calling anyway, of my father being a doctor. My mom was a nurse. So our whole family comes from a whole line of thoughtful and caring people. That's kind of who the Pooles are, at least in this local area. And I believe that our most recent calling as paranormal and historical preservationists has lended us to be more of a saving grace in the community as far as that's concerned. Along the lines of shows like Kindred Spirits and some of the other shows where they actually go out and help. Ghost Adventures does that too. They're not all about just lights, camera, action. Zach and the crew go out and they honestly want to help.
Yeah.
Those that have either lingered on, or the folks that are left behind that are dealing with loss or spiritual presences. I don't even know. Presence I don't know what I don't know the plural. Multiple ghosts in the home that may be plaguing that families. We have been investigating in and around the Southeast Missouri area for a little over going on 3 years. As crazy as that sounds, we're going on our 3rd year. And just recently, some exciting stuff happened where we were noticed by a family that's originally from Southeast Missouri, lived in St. Louis for a little while, and then moved back to the Southeast Missouri area, saw our show. We were able to help them connect with several generations of long since passed relatives. And in doing so, got noticed. And they have since invested in the show, and we are going to be bringing investigations that are further away. We still want to focus on Southeast Missouri and this whole area, Southern Illinois, the Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, this whole area right here, this little conglomerate. Being from this area, we're all pretty much the same and have that same mindset.
Yeah.
And we want to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention that you're a combat veteran, so I would say on behalf of our listeners and myself, thank you for your service. I know I've told you that 100 times, but officially here on air, thank you very much.
Well, it was an honor to serve, and you all were more than worth it. That's for sure.
Well, you said that the American Ghost Project has been around for about 3 years. I know myself, I've been a part of the team for a little over a year now. It's been very interesting. I've gotten to see some things that I never thought I would see.
You were Mr. Skeptic coming on.
Yes, I was.
I don't know. I don't believe anything. But I want to find out for myself. And then goes to Caro and
man, I love that town.
And his jaw drops because he's talking to the spirit box, our ghost portal, and it's responding to him in legible. I mean, it was nutty.
Yeah.
That was such a great investigation. That wasn't even your aha moment. We actually have on Facebook Live a woman singing in that same hallway.
Yeah.
La, 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 la. I don't even know what she was singing. It doesn't matter. She was singing in the hallway, singing in the shower. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She was singing. She was getting down. And I thought y'all were like, I was on the camera, like I was on the live. I'm like, I rounded the corner. I'm like, are you serious? Are you guys jacking around? And it was you and Tanner like creeping up the hallway. Like, no, it wasn't us.
Yeah. I remember that, man. Well, I think one of the things that people want to know, and I know I've wanted to know myself, but, you know, coming from being here, you know, growing up in this area, going into the military and things like that, how does that lead into you becoming interested in the paranormal? I mean, are we talking, did you have that just groundbreaking experience where you were like, there's something going on here, or has this just always been something that's been of interest to you?
I think that this has always been something that's been in the back of my mind as far as an interest for me. I had a genuine experience in the summer of 93 when my grandmother passed. We were going through, now my grandmother, I spent a lot of time over at her house growing up. She and I were very close. I remember distinctly eating peaches and frozen candy bars. She always kept her doggone candy bars in the freezer, like chip off a tooth in order to eat one of them, and peaches, and she'd always just fill me with sugar and then send me home, basically.
That's a good grandma, by the way.
Yeah, sitting in front of the TV and watching Golden Girls and Empty Nest. I'm sure there's some other shows that we were watching together. Some very, very
back in the days of quality TV as well.
Man,
I hear.
Absolutely. But anyway, I digress. My mom and I actually were in the kitchen going through a box of her stuff. She'd already passed, and we were walking down the hallway, and she said, she just kind of broke down. She said, I just need a sign that you're okay. Mom, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know what steps to take. I just need to know that you're okay. And there was a breeze that went through the house, and it was her perfume. Now, her house smelled like her perfume, which was Charlie. Very distinct perfume. If you know what that smells like, great. If not, it's kind of flowery and a little fruitful, and it flowed through the house, and all the windows were closed in the house. It's summertime, you know. It's 975 degrees outside with your hair on fire in southeast Missouri because of all the humidity. It's like,
Amen.
It's like walking in syrup outside. So, I mean, it's awful. And that experience led me to other experiences that were more recent, but that one in particular stands out in my mind.
Okay. So that's what got you interested in the paranormal. So in all of that, what led to you deciding that you wanted to pursue this dream of becoming a full-time paranormal investigator?
Money.
Money?
I'm just doing this for the money.
We're just in it for the money, baby.
Yeah, I just want money. God has feed us some money. No, I don't want money. I don't want fame.
You can send money to GoFundMe at the American. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, yeah, just edit that part out completely.
Yeah, no problem. I'm a pro at this. It's no big deal.
Anyway, that would kind of be, you know, what our overarching end game is. Now, when I started this, I mentored under Brian Cano. Brian Cano was on Haunted Collector and a few other shows. He mentored under Johnny Zaffis. Johnny Zaffis, if you are familiar with the paranormal field at all, had his own show, Haunted Collector, of course. He is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So I know that he's directly related and mentored underneath the Warrens of Conjuring fame. Brian, when he and I were on the phone, asked me, why are you all of a sudden decides I want to start investigating the paranormal when most people my age and our age, let's just be honest, Marty, have already started and are 10 years, 20 years into the business.
Yeah.
And we're just jumping in.
Yeah, and it's not something that you commonly hear about. You know,
No.
You get a phone call from a friend and they say, hey, I've got a business idea. I'm going to become a paranormal investigator. And you're like, what?
No, you're not doing this. All I got to say is none of us are doing this for the money.
No.
This is for
Absolutely,
the passion.
yeah.
This is for all things that go bump in the night that are not easily explained away. He asked me, why are you getting into this? And I said, well, it's, you know, at first I was like, well, I want to do this. And then I kind of went off on that subject a little bit. And then I got back to, well, I want to go live because of our fans. And he was like, wait a second, don't go live because of your fans. And this is what I quickly realized. We are not here and in this business to become famous. If that is a secondary or tertiary thing that happens, then so be it. That's not why I'm here. I am here to get those answers that I am seeking personally. The viewers themselves are along for the ride, and if we can create content that they enjoy watching, then so be it. Sure, there's a creative aspect to what we do. I have a degree in multimedia discipline where I can edit and put together videos in a fashionable way, I guess you could say, so where it's enjoyable to watch. But at the same time, whenever we're doing the lives, sure, we may joke around, but that's us being normal.
A lot of people don't know this, and maybe if this podcast is your first time being introduced to the American Ghost Project, we literally call ourselves a family. I mean, we know each other. You know, you
Just
and I
genuine.
probably know each other just as well as probably any other friend that I have.
Right.
I mean, we talk about everything every day, and a lot of people may not know that, but we stay in contact with each other every single day, just every member of the team.
If somebody is not on Slack, and we have a Slack channel dedicated specifically for the American Ghost Project and her members, of course, it's a private Slack that we are, and Slack is an app where we can just organize, and it's a little bit of a name drop for that organization, but what a great app.
This podcast brought to you by
Slack. Nice. But they really do have a good way of organizing what we do as far as how we are able to discern from different conversations from different investigational leads and, you know, general topics and that sort of thing. So if someone is not on the Slack, it hasn't gone a day without someone being on it.
Yeah.
And that's just, hey, how's everybody doing? We aren't a paranormal investigative group that just kind of gets together every now and again and goes ghost hunting. This is more than that. And I think that the team has fostered itself or created its own entity, so to speak. We are a conglomerate of all these different experiences and backgrounds. What we bring to specific investigations, we bring moms and dads and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, folks that have endearing hearts that really do want to help the situation, especially if a family is being tormented by a spirit or a spiritual presence that they cannot interact with or don't know how to interact with. Because at the end of the day, and I'll say this several times, especially during the lifespan of this podcast, we fear what we don't understand.
Absolutely.
Folks will be like, well, you know, I don't want you guys coming here because you guys are just going to stir up trouble. Well, you know what? The spirit is going to interact with you whether we come or not.
Yeah.
If you want to know who you're talking to so you can quell some of that, because like I said, we fear what we don't understand. And if you understand who's in your house, you know, if it's a former owner, like for example, Kindred Spirits, dropping their name again. In their first season, they're up in the Northeast primarily in that first season, but they're helping out a family in a multi-level apartment. Have you seen that one?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's a great episode. I encourage you all to at least watch that one. That's in their first episode. That's on Discovery Plus. And it's one of those episodes where the top floor, this young lady's living there, and there are certain rooms that she won't go in once she learns who it is. And it's a Polish immigrant that they have figured out, because they brought in a Polish interpreter and were speaking Polish to it through the EVPs, and it was replying in Polish. So we're talking
crazy.
Some incredible evidence that is just almost tangible. Like you can almost grab it out of the air and touch it. It's such an amazing thing for her to be able to finally know what that spirit is, and know that it's some old man that's clinging on to his lifelong dream of owning that property. And I feel like this is all God's design. As a Catholic and a Christian, undoubtedly this is all God's design. He allows us to travel in between planes and interact with the living on a limited basis. And I don't think he's there to disrupt. I don't think he's there to upset anybody. He just wants that to take care. He just wants that. Maybe that's his heaven. Who knows? I don't
understand how it works. Someday when I do, maybe the next team behind me will be talking to me. So,
right.
Yeah. So I want to ask this question now because, again, I fully feel for people to understand what the American Ghost Project is, they need to understand the man who created it. And I know what the letters AGP stand for, and we're not just talking about American Ghost Project here. I know those are really close to your heart, and I love and respect how you have carried this over. If that's something you wouldn't mind talking about, tell these people where the name came from.
Absolutely. My father was, in fact, I think I'd mentioned it earlier, was a physician in the area. Delivered over 8,000 babies. He was an obstetrician gynecologist in like 30 years' time. I single-handedly grew up and watched the evolution of the pager into the cell phone, basically. His name was Anthony Gerald Poole. And a way for me personally to preserve his legacy, at least through namesake. I had a paranormal experience right after he passed. He died actually in my parents' home. About 45 minutes after he passed, he pretty much proved to us that life goes on and energy goes somewhere. And apparently he needed to go to the study and open the door and swing it open so hard that it goes into the stinking drywall and scare everybody. We had like 4 days of no sleep. A buddy of ours over there, Todd Kenther, who still is searching for his dime. He has no idea where his dime is. So if he listens to this podcast, I'm still looking for your dime, Todd. I don't know where it is. It's like an ongoing joke between the two of us. But anyway, Todd was there. He experienced it as well. He started to go into the study, as a matter of fact, and backed out. That's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big guy. I know him.
He's lost a lot of weight, and I congratulate him on that. But
Absolutely.
Back then, he was a little heavier and started to back out and almost ran me over. He's like, nope, man, this is all you. And I walk in, every single hair follicle on my body stood up, and it was just swirling with energy. And then my sister walks in right behind me, and when she walks past me, I smelled his cologne. Mom walks in and she goes, what's going on? And I turned to her and I said, Dad's here. And Mom goes, where? And then Lauren and Luca look at each other and go, he's everywhere. He's just swirling in the room. And maybe
wow.
he was using, I don't know if he was using the study. His mom's ashes were in there. His dog's ashes were in there. It was just swirling with energy. And she called him AGP. She goes, okay, AGP. And that name just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And I remembered it. And I'm like, as far as the formulation of the team, he passed Christmas morning of 2014. We didn't form the team until 19. So there was a good 5 years of trying to figure out what direction I'm going to go in life. I'm actually looking at his digital voice recorder right now. I've got it in my hand. This is the one that he used when he was a physician. It's an Olympus. We've caught a good number of EVPs on this device. It's it's older. It's all beaten up and everything. It's not new. Looks like an old cell phone. It works.
It works.
Yeah,
That's right.
Absolutely, it works.
So we've touched now and we understand where the name for the American Ghost Project came from. Now, Scott, I sit across from you now and we are both Christian men. Mm-hmm. We've talked openly about this. A lot of people may not see it on some of our feeds, but we're always praying together as a team before investigations. We pray for each other after investigations before we head home. But I think a lot of people would want to know is, you've touched on it a little bit, how does your faith play a role in what you do with the American Ghost Project?
But to answer your question regarding my faith, as a Catholic, now I wasn't raised, I'm not a cradle Catholic. All things being equal, even Baptists can see this the same way. I know that some folks would say it says in the Bible that if the body is without the spirit, then the spirit is with God. If that is in fact 100%, then how do we explain some of the things that have happened with us? And I believe that the answer is it's all God's design. And I trust 100% that this is God's design. To answer quite simply, as a Christian and as a Catholic, what's happening all around the world, all of the paranormal activity that is happening, is due to the fact that, let's just be honest, everybody's got a cell phone now, everybody's got a camera, everybody's got an electromagnetic battery, and they're walking around and they're supercharging the energy around them, and more of this is going to keep happening. Our energy, wasn't it Einstein that said that energy is neither created nor destroyed?
I'm not that
Or
smart.
Newton.
I don't remember.
It was somebody super smart, and it was
a lot
not
smarter
me.
than me.
And they were not related to anybody. Well, they might have been related to my father. Not of this household. I just know that is maybe it was Mark Twain. I'm kidding. With the concept that energy is neither created nor destroyed and has to go somewhere, we, scientifically speaking, there is electrolysis inside of our bodies, right? And that's the electrodes, or that electric spark that goes across your heart, creates that, charges the heart so it pumps the blood. Then you got electric synapses that are firing in your brain. There's electricity all inside of our body. It has to go somewhere when we die. And you have heard of the, I'd have to look that up. You've never heard of that before?
I don't think so.
Never
Doesn't ring a bell.
Not have heard of the 24 grams. 24 grams. 24 grams. 21 grams. Okay, so 21 grams experiment proved that what this specific doctor, this was in 1907, Duncan McDougall, a physician from Haverhill, Massachusetts, and what he was able to prove is that through 6 patients that were close to or near death, he weighed them, and at or the point of ceasing to be alive, each of them lost exactly 21 grams. And
That's interesting.
And if that's true, and it's amazing whenever you tell someone, oh, and by the way, the soul weighs 21 grams. And when they discover that for the first time, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
What did you say? You mean that what's inside of us, what could possibly comprise as the soul or the conscious mind, actually has a physical substance that can be weighed?
That's pretty awesome.
That it takes everything to a completely different level for those that are paying attention. For those that are taking score back home, 21 grams, that's pretty amazing. And each of those 6 patients lost 21 grams at the time of death. And every person before them and every person after them will lose 21 grams.
That is
insane.
Very interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So to answer your question, how's my faith kind of tie into all this? I am a speck of dust on this planet, and in the grand scheme of things, what I do on this planet and don't do may or may not matter in his entire plan. But I am one of his children, and you wouldn't question your parents. And I'm not going to sit down here and go, well, why is this happening? All that we are going to do is try and figure out what is happening and try to explain that to those that are left behind.
Yeah.
So they have the answers so they can live a more peaceful life.
Absolutely.
And I got something in my eyeball.
It's your finger.
No, it's not.
All right, so
It's
Scott,
awful.
I reached out to some of our fans and some of the people in our supporter page, which we're going to give our plugs for that page later on. But I asked them to send me some questions that maybe they wanted to ask you if they were doing this interview in person. So I've kind of put these together.
I don't know any of them.
Pretty much from.
I don't know any of them.
I've got 4 questions here.
Oh, my God.
And going through them, I kind of staged them as to kind of what seems the most interesting to me. Now, let's keep in mind here, I'm going to give us a spot here at the end of this to give some spoilers about some upcoming events. So let's try to avoid that right now.
We're going to plug some
But let's
stuff
talk
that's
about
coming up.
everything else. One of our fans wanted to know, what is the most profound piece of evidence that you have captured so far, whether audio or video?
No, it's on our top 5. I put out a top 5 video sometime last year, maybe 6 months ago. It's on our YouTube page, American Ghost Project's YouTube page. That top 5 video shows we were at Commerce Manor in Commerce, Missouri, at the historic Anderson home.
Beautiful home, by the way.
And what's amazing, absolutely, it's a home that is literally 4 generations of the Andersons lived there. And actually 5, technically 5, because her kids lived there too. It's a house that's frozen in time with furniture that dates back pre-Revolutionary War. It's just fantastic. It's a time capsule. It's an amazing piece of Southern historic culture. But while we were there, Mama Jo, unbeknownst to her, she picks up her camera and she's just trying to set up. She went from the parlor room over into the dining room, which used to be the living room. I'd like to always caveat that to when the Andersons were there, when Abion Anderson was there, it was the living room. And
that explains why the wood stove's in there. That always kind of, why do they have
like,
a wood
wait,
stove,
why?
a wood burning stove in the middle of their dining room?
No, that's that was at one point
their
living room. So she sets her camera down, pointing out one of the bay windows. There's 3 of them, very large windows that face to the backyard, kind of catty corner toward a fence, or not a fence, but that backs up to the cliffside cemetery and like the forest back there. There's nothing back there.
I think 2 out of the 3 of them are covered by a gigantic bush as well.
Yeah, there's only one window it can actually see out into the backyard. The other one's covered up by a giant tree or bush or whatever. But as she's doing that, you'll see in the video that there's this lantern that comes in to display. It's not a reflection. You can see it through the drapes themselves. What it appears to me is someone looking for someone with a lantern, because then they swing it up and then back down again. And then from right to left, there is a partial apparition that you can see. And you've seen that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I've
one of
seen that one.
it's one of the best. I mean, I've seen other catches. I've seen other paranormal investigative shows catch spirits and shadows, and we're gonna get better at this, Marty. We've got 4K cameras now. Imagine if that was on one of our 4K cameras. How much more detail we would have captured. That was only in 1080. So we're talking 4 times the resolution we would have caught.
So yeah, we've caught some very interesting footage, as we know. And,
We're going to pause. Let's pause.
I don't want to pause. I want to keep going.
No, it's a huge pause, Marty.
I've never done a Donald Trump impersonation before.
That was a pretty good one. That was pretty good.
It's huge.
All right, so we're back. So Scott, we've talked about it. We've caught some very interesting footage. And again, we'll plug this at the end of this podcast episode, but we do have a YouTube channel. Feel free to look that up, check that video out.
Yeah, American
Back to
Ghost
the questions. Yeah, American Ghost Project on YouTube. That's right. One of our supporters wants to know if you have ever been physically hurt by a spirit.
Yes, I have. And it's not something that I will tell you. You get into this is not flag football. You are putting yourselves in harm's way. You better have your spirit and your soul and your physical body, everything right before you get into this, because it all comes into play. And I don't know why I'm out of breath.
Because your physical body's not right.
I guess not. But anyway, we were investigating at the old Sykeston City Jail in Southeast Missouri during the that was actually the night that you came to the tour that night.
Yep.
So later on in the evening, the police showed up. Not in a bad way. They like to investigate with us. Avery was actually there, and Avery Graham is now part of the team. But what happened was we were down in the jail cells near the operations room, which is right outside of the booking room, and felt a sharp pain on my chest, just below my collarbone. Kind of a burning sensation. I had a t-shirt on. I moved my hand down. I'm like, what is that? And then I brought my hand back out and I was bleeding. I'm like, what? So I walk over around the corner. There's a restroom right around the corner for the police, the Department of Public Safety officers that work down there, and looked in there, and I had a burn on my chest. It had broken the skin and was starting to bleed, and it was blistering. And Sarah, she goes, that looks like a cigarette burn. And it makes sense, because that's what could have happened down there, is somebody could have been burned by a cigarette. And I ended up getting a burn on my chest as a result. And it stayed on my chest for 2 or 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
It took forever to heal. I mean, to this day, one of the strangest injuries I've ever had. And I mean, if I had injured I don't understand how. It's kind of an odd place to get an injury.
Yeah.
In the first place. I mean, you would know if something bumps you in the chest, or in the back for that matter, if you like. But this was on my chest, and I surely would have known. But no, I can't explain that one at all.
Wow. Well, that is interesting. So this next question comes from
Inquiring minds.
So let's keep in mind here, I don't want to give away any spoilers of anything that's on the calendar right now, but
They can go onto our events page and find out what's coming up.
Well, we're getting there.
Okay.
But again, this one came from one of our very own team members, but they're wanting to know what location or locations that you are the most interested in investigating in the future.
The one place that I would want to investigate that I probably would not be allowed, or... Okay, let me answer that question first.
So give me a couple locations. I've wrote down 3 here myself, but give me a couple locations that we don't have on schedule yet that you would love to investigate if you had the opportunity.
The White House.
The White House.
All day.
There's all kinds of stories.
All day, man. Get me in there.
Yeah.
Because you know it's haunted. It has to be. There have been numerous... That's the 3rd or 4th flash of light, by the way, that I've seen down there. I'm just letting you know. That's happening right now.
I see you keep looking down there.
I don't know what's going on down there. There's nothing on down there.
I think your creepy house probably needs to be on this list too.
The more we talk about this, the more activity starts to happen. That actually does occur whenever I'm editing and or going over footage live on Facebook. It's happened where things have happened during the broadcast, and I'm like, I don't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Like someone's banged
I've
up.
seen some of those.
I mean, I have sat here in this studio and heard people walk up right here, fully expecting someone to knock on the door, and I'll go around the corner, I'll look through the blinds, and there's no one there.
No.
I can hear you walking up. It's not like it's a mystery.
Yeah, we're right here.
Anyway, the White House, man. I know that sounds crazy, but like, why would you want to investigate the White House? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, all the stories, all the history. I mean, and it's not just that location, but it's been rebuilt several different times and it's been burned down. And I mean, we're just talking about Pennsylvania in general, or just Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Go to Philadelphia.
tons of history.
Yeah, Philadelphia, Boston. Those are two cities.
Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
Boston.
I've already been to Boston, and I've been up to Salem. That was not I was not a paranormal investigator at that time. I was. My father was still alive. That was 2013. This was about a year before, about 6 months actually before he passed. He knew that was going to be the last trip for us. He just knew it. God rest his soul. Did not have the opportunity to go up to Salem because he was not feeling well that day. But I will tell you, much colder in the middle of summer to where I had to purchase a hoodie to wear. So Salem is one of those places that I'd love to take the team. That's just like bucket list. Got to go. Alcatraz.
That would be really cool, for sure.
Here's another place that I would love to investigate. If you could shut down downtown San Antonio, but shut down like 4 or 5 city blocks, I'd love to investigate the Alamo. Because there's energy in there.
Yeah.
But there's so much noise pollution that you can't investigate it. Maybe you can. There'd be a lot of noise pollution.
Yeah.
I mean, there wouldn't be a lot of audio. Be a lot of audio interference. I don't know what's on your bucket list.
So for me, I'm a Missouri boy. So for me, obviously, the Missouri State Penitentiary.
Oh yeah,
I think that's somewhere that we have talked about.
It's the bloodiest
and we're working
48
on it.
acres in the world.
And I'm sure that will happen in the future. Another one for me, just something that I've recently discovered, is the Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri.
Yep. Been in there.
There's all kinds of stories about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
there's a monster in the basement.
Well.
No.
The thing that
There's
gets me,
an animatronic rock monster in the basement.
Well, that just
is odd.
That's very odd.
He's down there.
I mean, it's a beautiful looking place. Besides
Yeah.
that, I would love to be able to see it and get some pictures
Right.
from there and everything. But a lot of these places, I want to determine myself if there's something legitimately going on here or if it's a tourist attraction. You know what I mean?
Right. Kind of like Eureka Springs in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Like, what's actually happening? Are we manifesting this ourselves? Oh,
No.
on my list, let's not forget. Let us not forget. I just forgot. Jesus.
That went over well.
The Stanley Hotel. Let us not forget the Stanley Hotel.
Okay.
Where they shot The Shining
Yeah.
in Colorado.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
So,
Sign
since
me
we're on
up.
movies, of course, for me, it's The Conjuring House in Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be amazing. I think it would be awesome to see.
Road trip.
Road trip.
Yep,
If
everybody
you would
just
like
pile on
to
the
fund this
ambulance.
road trip, you can send funds through GoFundMe to #the No. So the last question here we got from one of our fans. They messaged me this.
You're making it up. We don't have any fans.
Yeah, the 2 that we have. They
All
wanted
2 of
to
them.
know, what is the goal or the vision of the American Ghost Project? I think what is it that we are trying to accomplish? And I think you've touched on it before, but I already had the question on here, so I'm just rolling with it. So what is the goal of the American Ghost Project?
That's an outstanding question. Go. I know it sounds like Star Trek. Go where no man will ever go before, but we are.
Copyright infringement.
Yeah, I don't think we can say that.
We're gonna get flagged. First episode, we're gonna get taken down.
Banned hammer. No, our motto is what you fear we will find, and that encompasses a lot of things. That's going into the dark corners of these old abandoned houses and or homes that people may be living in, and going into these structures and businesses where there were memories, good and bad, that are stained into the fabric of the actual premises itself, and not backing down. Because a lot of these shows that you see out there with these paranormal investigators, so-called paranormal investigators, and something happens, and it's elbows and holes, and they're running the other way. Excuse my language, but they're running the other way, and they're cameras, and you can't tell what's going on, and they're screaming like little girls. Here's the deal, man. As a National Guard soldier, and you're the same way, and Logan is too, I'm starting to train the team and surround myself with folks, like-minded individuals that will go toward the danger. Like a fireman, go toward the fire, not away from it.
Yeah.
There are a certain breed of people out there. We may be looking for you to join our team. No, we're not recruiting.
Hey, I'm always looking for people to share range time with. So hook a brother up with some ammo and some range
He
time.
needs a lot of lead.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you still fire with lead? Is it lead or brass? I guess it really doesn't. Whatever.
These days, you shoot anything you can find.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever you can afford at this point. So, what's the end game for the American Ghost Project is to boost some of these local businesses like Cairo that's just suffering from the race wars in the 60s and all of the racial strife that happened in that city and everybody backing out. Now they got a $40 million port that's coming in over the Mississippi side, so hopefully that'll boost that community. We want to be a part of the rebirth of these communities. And if paratourism, we're going to coin that word, if paratourism is a thing now, we want to be a part of that because it seems like a lot more people are interested in this sort of thing. And if they are, we are going to be one of those on the sharp end of the spear, bringing them that content. And we're not going to shy away from anything. Some of the things that you may hear, see, or smell, taste, touch, whatever the case may be, whatever your senses are telling you, it's going to be unedited because we're going to be live.
Yeah.
So be aware that a cuss word or 2 or 7 may come out of my mouth depending on what's happening. If a woman suddenly appears in front of me, or a man, it doesn't really matter. I guess gender identity doesn't matter on the
Apparently not these days.
It's 2022. We're not judging.
No.
If they suddenly appear in front of me and or shoving me down the stairs, there may be an expletive or 2 that come out of my mouth. Be aware that this is an adult show with adult content, and we may not always be able to show that at the beginning of our show because a lot of times, when you watch Ghost Adventures, some of these other shows, they'll tell you these are adults in adult situations. We have permission to go into these places. Do not replicate what we do without the proper training. I want to say that one more time. Do not do what we do. It's not time for little Timmy and Tommy to go running over and grabbing their camera phone and running into the old hospital in Cairo and being like, I can catch a ghost too. Yeah. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have completely different results. You're not going to know what your body is telling you. And that comes with time and experience. Yeah. Doing it repetitively over and over and listening to what your body is telling you while you're on and in the middle of that investigation. Okay, my back is starting to hurt. Why is it hard for me to breathe? Why do I have a burning sensation on my chest? What's happening? I don't understand what's happening. I need to get out. It's one of those things where you just got to get out of the building.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's really, but getting back to the original question, I thought that was a really good one. Maybe we don't know what maybe we're just along this carpet ride to see where we go. We're all on this earth together and we have such a limited time. And here's the thing, man, it's like a drug. Because the first time I caught something paranormal, I wasn't expecting it. And when I did and I caught it and I heard that first electronic voice phenomena or first EVP or saw that first light anomaly or orb or whatever the case may be, it's exciting, man. It's like Christmas morning as a child over and over and over and over again. And when you're sitting there around a group of your peers, around a team that you formulated and handpicked yourself, and you record and you're sitting there with your digital audio recorder like we were a couple of weekends ago, and you ask a spirit directly, did you move that teddy bear? And it said, that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my mind, man.
Yeah. That was definitely interesting.
It's just like, are you kidding me?
That was a very cool moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Getting evidence. And I know a lot of the folks back home are listening to this and are like, I don't even know what evidence he's talking about. I will release that.
Yeah.
It's coming. I'm just going to clean up the audio and do a few things, but it's there. And what's cool is being able to do that scouting event the next day and have those scouts listen to the raw audio off that digital audio recorder just plugged into a speaker, an external speaker with an aux cable, so it's boosted, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can hear that. It's a whisper. And I'm like, that wasn't us. That's what they sound like. And it's nutty.
I would just have to say for myself here, the thing that I love the most about it, I love the historical preservation part of this. We're bringing places to light that a lot of people would have forgot about.
Right.
That's what got me involved in the first place. Again, my first time being the Cairo Hospital, well, understanding the legacy of the American Ghost Project and how it ties to your father, I completely understand that, because the only reason I showed up at the Cairo Hospital is because my late father always wanted to go there. We would drive through town, and we would always drive by the place, and then it was all fenced in and grown up, and
Really?
you could barely even see it.
So there was a fence around it at one point?
Yeah, it used to have a chain link fence around it. I believe when the city had come in and remove all the
Right.
asbestos, I think that's when it got taken down.
2007.
With what I do with my job and everything, and understanding the demolition and condemnation processes, it appears to me that the city was going through the steps to have the building demolished. And then, of course, as anyone knows the story of Caro, they just ran out of money to have that done. So now the building is there, and thankfully we get to enjoy it. And hopefully, I don't know how it can be done, but hopefully that building can continue to stand for years to come. It eventually is going to fall. Everything decays.
I don't know. I mean, it's
But-
made out of like solid concrete,
It's
man.
definitely that.
I mean, it's going to take an act of God to get that one to fall down. It's,
Yeah, but that's what I love about it all is, again, the historical preservation. Like you said, with our videos, we're trying to bring something original. And we've talked about this with the team. There are a lot of other things that we could watch. We do it to an extent for research purposes, but we never try to go in replicating something that another team has done. We're always trying to do something original, and I would say be as groundbreaking as we can.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's absolutely what we're looking at. We've got a lot of custom gear. I built my own ghost portal. I built our own structured light sensor camera. We've got other pieces of equipment that we're working on.
Yeah, and we're going to get into those in later episodes. I really do want to share with people, if paranormal investigation is something that you want to get into, aside from also being, say, ready spiritually and mentally, there's basic equipment that you need. And then we'll go into the advanced equipment, because recently we have gotten some very cool things that I am super excited to get to play with. But Scott, we've been talking for about an hour right now.
Awesome.
And so we're going to begin to wrap this thing up. Now, like I told you before, I didn't want to spoil anything before, but I know our fans are wanting to know about some things that are coming up. We've got 2 really big investigations coming up that we're really excited about. If you want to share those with the people and the dates that we're doing those.
Absolutely. So we've got weekend after next. So we've got this weekend coming up where we're going to be going to the old Sumner High School in Caro, Illinois. That event will be, of course, free to watch live on Facebook for those that... The cool thing is you can always go back and watch it. It'll be preserved on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitch. Sumner High School, let me tell you, is another one of those time capsules upstairs. It's insane. We came across some brushes and some artifacts from time long past. I mean, the schoolrooms are still up there. The blackboards are still hanging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. The weekend after that, so on the 25th and 26th of February of 2022, the American Ghost Project will be traveling to the infamous Sally House in Atchison, Kansas. The Sally House has been known to scratch men. They don't necessarily know if it's the entity of a small young child that's in the home or if it's a darker demonic entity. But there are several spirits that have been labeled throughout that home by several different mediums that have gone in. There, paranormal investigators have gone in there. Most paranormal investigators, investigative teams, seasoned teams, only investigate the Sally House for one evening because that's all they can handle. The American Ghost Project has got 2 nights, 25th and 26th.
I'm hoping I can survive both of those.
Yeah. All right. So, and right after that, after we have gotten our fill of Miss Sally and interacted with her, of course, that's going to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. # American Ghost Project. We're going to be traveling back to Kansas City, the Kansas City area, and then going north into Iowa. The first week of March, 2, 3, and 4 March, we're going to be traveling to the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. In 1912, a man snuck into the home and waited in an upstairs attic as the children and parents fell asleep. Now, 6 kids were in the house, plus 2 adults. 4 of the children were directly related. 2 of them were just family friends. And they'd just come home from a church function, actually a children's function at church. Sometime between the hours of 9 and 2, they think. He came down from the attic, grabbed an axe, and methodically butchered every single family member. Wow. And then ate a sandwich, cleaned himself up, and went out the back door.
Wow. That's going to be.
I feel
I think that's going to be a very memorable experience.
It will be, and I'm sad. Obviously, I feel a great deal of sadness for the children and the loss of life, and of course for the adults too. They were killed prematurely as well. But this heinous act of cruelty and brutality, the house is known to be haunted. Whether it's the murderer's spirit or the children, I hope it's not the kids. But you know what? If it is, it's all God's design. He's allowing that back and forth to happen. He's allowing those children to not necessarily remain stuck. I mean, it sounds bad to be stuck, but maybe that's their heaven. Maybe that home is where they were the happiest. And those memories, they just live out blissfully happy.
Yeah. So you heard it right there, folks. We've got the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas coming up February 25th through the 26th. And then right after that, the American Ghost Project team is going to travel to Villisca, Iowa, to the Villisca Axe Murder House. I will personally be at the Sally House investigation, documenting as much as I can. I do plan on doing a podcast episode to review the findings from that. And then the Villisca Axe Murder House, I unfortunately will not be able to be on scene. I'm going to trust the team to bring me back some awesome footage that we can review. So Scott, one last thing, I want to give you an opportunity to plug our social media. You talked about it a little bit ago, but give everybody one more round of where they can find us at on social media.
In order to find us on social media, it's just a hashtag American Ghost Project. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Vine, MySpace. I don't know what else we're on. We're on like everything.
About everything you can think of.
Yeah, I think we're on all of them, even the ones that are taken down. We're still on those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there you go, guys. You can find us on all of your social media platforms. If you have any difficulty, just reach out to us through Facebook. I think everybody and their mother literally has Facebook, maybe even grandmothers right now. We're very easy to find, the American Ghost Project on Facebook. You can send us a message. We can help guide you to any other thing you need. We're going to wrap up this episode. Scott, I really appreciate you sitting down with me tonight.
You're welcome.
Going over some of these things. I look forward to a lot of things that are on our schedule this year that we haven't even got to share yet. So you guys keep your ears open. Keep an eye out for those social media updates. Yeah, keep your phones with you and all that good stuff.
Hey, you know what? Head over to YouTube. It's free.
Exactly.
We really need the support over on YouTube. We've only got like 500 subscribers or less than that. It's free. Turn the notification bell icon on. You'll continue to get great content, hopefully good content just like this. We'll catch you on the flip.
Yeah, and for right now, YouTube is going to be the place to find this podcast. Working on some things in the future, but it does take time. We're trying to get established. So we're going to go on YouTube. We're going to share all that through everything we can through social media. So again, keep an eye out for updates. Keep your ears open for the podcast. We appreciate you guys for joining us tonight.